rewards that you can from going to do a dungeon or going to do dailies together. And then with this whole overhaul with renown and all that stuff, you're not. It doesn't make any sense. Like, what are you guys gonna do to give us renown for playing PvP or grouping?
So with 1.2.0 coming out today, renown and glory and some of those currencies are actually serve a slightly different purpose. Renown is much more focused on being the ship hand and adventure currency, and less focused on just doing stuff in big groups. And then dungeons and raids give you glory, and then PvP is focused more on prestige. What we'll be looking to do is giving more stuff on the prestige vendor, but the other stuff you mentioned, the guild influence and stuff like that, that is actually something that we were looking at the previous week. And then I know Steven's team was looking at increasing the amount of XP and gold and stuff you get from PvP so that it's more competitive with the other activities you can do.
Like EG capping from PvP is at a much slower rate than you would if you were to, do a renowned farm train or to go do dungeon spam or the wilds over and over again. Same thing with like guild influence.
Yeah, the guild influence thing is actually not something we can just immediately turn on. There's some weirdness with the way it's set up in the code, but that's something we're going to fix and make it so that you can actually earn influence with your PvP guilds.
User joined your channel.
Awesome. Looking forward to that one. Is that like a later, super later?
No ETA.
Okay, no ETA. All right, cool.
Anything that requires engineering work, like stuff that requires art, is always going to take longer.
Right.
But it is definitely something we want to do.
Cool, awesome.
I have a more general question, if I can ask it.
Yeah, go ahead, Clips.
Because it personally drives me crazy, and I know that one of the things that people ask me all the time is, when will we get dates for things? And I know that we just got a big, PvP roadmap that says, hey, we're going to have this sometime before 2016. But you can kind of see how, a whole year of time isn't really a good idea to use for dates. I think a constructive thing to do would maybe say, hey, this is what we're looking at for the next patch for PvP. How about you make a development roadmap or something like that and post it on the PvP forums about how, what's coming next? Gold bot, blue gear, prestige unlocked, 1800, 1500 epic gear. And then you can put that, kind of say, well, we hope to have this out within the next 2 weeks, or the next month or so. And then you can put back on the list, in development for those other things that require more engineering work. That way people, don't just say, well, over this next year until Drop 5 comes, I'm going to go play Guild Wars 2 or go play another game, that's working on PvP. Because things like, no ETA and coming soon, that discourages people more so than anything else.
That's true, but it's kind of the downside of anything with developers is until we have it locked down to say it is going to be in this drop on this day with this thing, it is open to change. And so that is why pretty much with any subject we avoid giving specific dates or times or stuff like that. We are definitely aiming to try and get these out as quickly as we can, but for most of them that involves a drop, not a weekly patch and stuff like that.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm not looking for February 3rd drop date. I'm looking for, a list that says something like coming soon in the next patch, or coming soon, coming ASAP, or coming soon in the next patch, or coming soon for the next drop. Things like that can kind of differentiate the timelines rather than just saying, well, over the course of the next year, we might have something. Because honestly, I don't think people will stick around for another year waiting on stuff. They have to have a little bit of an idea of when stuff is coming. I'll give you an example to help clarify the question. Is you said the gold bot blue gear. That you said something you're working on in the next patch. Why not just say a development roadmap from PvP, the PvP forums that say, hey, this is what's coming in the next patch, or this is what's coming in the next 2 weeks. I think people will forgive you for pushing it back, but they won't forgive you for saying it's coming within a year. See what I'm saying?
Or at least just the hopeful, even if you're just working on it and you can't get it out, we would understand, but knowing that you are working on it.
Once we have a more defined list of exactly what is going to be in the next drop, I will definitely update you guys and give you a much better idea of what is going to be in that drop. But that stuff is not yet locked down in stone. And so we have to make sure that that stuff is defined, and then we can start talking about the drop or a patch or stuff like that.
Hey, wake up.
Anybody else have any comments about that specific question? Sorry, go ahead, Brazil. It's your thing.
No, it's fine. Primal, go ahead.
One of the questions I have is upcoming for your PvP. You said that instances you're going to be gear normalization up to 1800 PvP gear. So what's the difference if someone will have 1200, 1800 gear in the future? Would it even make a difference? And with that said, would you be looking at doing that possibly for war plots? Right now we do get war plots going, but the Dommies have close to a 1500 war plot, whereas there's close to a 1200, which is pretty much impossible for us to get a win off unless there is some type of normalization in the war plots.
As part of the removing the ratings from all of the 1800 gear, I also went through and removed the rating requirements on every warplot plug. So when that goes out, you'll be able to buy and customize your warplot however you want, just based on having available war coins. The availability of those war coins is also definitely something that needs to be improved, and I'll be looking into that.
Woohoo!
Yeah, because if we lose from a 1200 war plot, we don't have enough to repair. It really hurts, so we have to keep rebuilding new war plots over and over again.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Also, I think like earlier there might have been a little bit of confusion because when we say that we're going to gear normalize, we're normalizing down and not up. So anything that is an eye level above a certain point will get normalized down to what we want it to be. So there still will be a little bit of gear progression at the beginning when you go from whatever set to whatever the max is.
Okay, awesome. Anyone have any other questions retaining to what we were just discussing?
I do.
Yeah, go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Okay, so in regards to the war plot repair, I was just curious as to why you feel that that's actually necessary. It seems
I don't.
like
I actually want to remove it, but I don't know when that will be able to do that.
Okay, because it just seems like a negative aspect to the game that
Yes.
serves no real purpose.
It's one of those things that creates an issue that I don't think is necessary, and is something we will be looking at removing at some point in the future. We're investigating it right now.
All right, cool.
Oh,
Yeah, go ahead, man.
I'm
Go ahead.
sorry.
No, you're fine.
I was also wondering if you were considering maybe upping the default number of coins, because I found that both times we created our war plot, we just skipped putting the boss summoner in.
Yep.
We picked all the things that we wanted, and basically totally ignored the boss summoner until the next go round when we just bought it and put it in there. Because, we didn't want to have an empty gap there.
That makes sense. The warplot stuff, I'm looking at sort of in stages. The availability of coins, especially for the losing team, is definitely something I really want to improve. I haven't locked down exactly what change I want to make. And some of that involves kind of looking at it and seeing like what I can do on the design side versus what would require engineering work, because that takes longer and stuff like that.
Cool. Good to hear. A question that I had was about chat has been bringing this up a little bit. Is the leaderboards that you guys implemented beforehand and then took them down? What is the current status of that, and what do you hope to accomplish with the leaderboards going forward?
Hi. So we wanted to provide a more permanent solution, something hopefully web-based. We're actually having discussions later today about that. And it's also something like, I guess you as a community, what would you like to see on leaderboards? Because we're trying to determine that.
we'd like to just see leaderboards. I think would just be like a nice thing.
Just take a
People, like,
page out
in
of
a
Lyle's
list.
book, be able to look at a character profile and their spec and their highest achievable ratings for each bracket. I mean, the teams that they play with. I mean, you can pretty much just take
Hey,
that
wake
page,
up.
and I think the community would be happy with that.
So an armory as well.
An armory would be excellent. I mean, if you guys can do something similar to that, I think it would go a long way for the community to be able to see what the top guys are doing, kind of mirror their builds, and I mean, it's going to create some flavor of the month. But I think it would do a lot of justice because currently there's not many guides, there's not many people writing guides. I mean, there's not really any help for the lower community, other than to just kind of bash their head against losing over and over and over.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Primal, you also wanted to chime in. Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Primal.
Oh, sorry. Another question for your gear changes that are coming up where everybody can get an 1800 set through Prestige. Now, I know this game is pretty much a hardcore player game, but isn't that going a little bit too casual? Will you be putting in something like 4,000 Prestige plus they have to trade in a 1,200 piece and then for the 1,500 piece, and then next set of the 1,800 they need their 1,500 piece plus another 4,000 Prestige? Is there going to be a system in place, something like that, or they're just going to take 4,000 Prestige and buy their 1,800 weapon with it?
The changes that are coming in the patch are a stopgap sort of thing. We're actually going to be reworking the way the PvP itemization works with Season 2 once we get there, and have a brand new set of gear. And the goal with that once we get there is to make the barrier to entry at the low end very low. So it is very easy, sort of like what the 1800, or sorry, the blue gear will be now, is you can kind of go in, get your gear really fast so that you can get sort of a baseline amount of PvP offense and defense and feel competitive. And then in order to fully min-max the set, it will take a lot of work from there, but it's going to be sort of incremental minor power gains instead of huge leaps forward, if that makes sense.
That makes sense, yeah. So it will take time to get it, just like giving everybody a chance to get it.
Yeah, and right now the changes with the 1800 gear and the blue set are sort of a short-term fix while we work on cleaning up a lot of this stuff and wrapping up Season 1, and then we'll be releasing all the new stuff when we come out with Season 2.
Great, thank you.
Awesome. Go ahead.
What's the protocol for like raising your hand? I don't know. I don't want to like.
You can just poke me with a message that says, "Hey, I want to talk." That's fine. In terms of like the armory and stuff, is that something that would be like legitimately viable for you guys, or is that something that really isn't on your priority list right now? Because I know that an armory would be really fantastic, but I think we can all agree that like fixing the basic problems of PvP is probably more like on the top priority list.
Thank you for that. I was getting frustrated when we're talking about things that are like months and months out when we're not even like at a stage where we're, we can't have a competitive environment right now because of some bigger glaring issues. Why are we fixing intricacies of war plots and, leaderboards, all that stuff?
Right. Carbine just said spectator mode is on the wish list. There's no ETA, which is actually going to be my next question, but that's fine. The next thing I kind of want to actually kind of go over in terms of a community topic is allowing lower level players more ease of access into PvP itself rather than them just constantly bashing their head against a brick wall. I know that the fix that you guys talked about could possibly help that, but in terms of, I guess, newer players that have never done PvP before, do you guys plan to address that at all?
So it sounds like you have two different questions. Are you asking about fresh 50s who are still in like crappy greens?
Yeah.
Or...
Yeah.
Okay. Well, for that's specifically what the blue gear is aimed at. Is as soon as you get to 50, you can go in and buy it, and that's the best PvP gear most of my characters have is the blue sets, and those are plenty enough to be competitive in there. And then if you want to go after the the rated gear and the 1800 gear and stuff like that. You can work on that over time, but it lets you get that sort of baseline